Good evening. I'm Clifford Murray, and this is another topic learning assessment of Cliff's office. Last week, I ended my video with white supremacy and its distraction centered around examining the Black Lives Matter organization. And this evening, we're going to deal with black men in the workplace. Again, this platform is for men who endeavor to understand no nonsense. We deal with substantive matters over here. As I've said in previous videos, Cliff's office is simply an extension of Empowerment for Tomorrow, a platform I developed 10 years ago or so, targeting young black men from a foundational perspective from 14 to 19 years of age. Of course, all black men are welcome to participate. We need you. But that 14 to 19 age window, the caveat with that would be that their biological father would be present, if not an older brother, a grandfather, an uncle, some type of male stakeholder in the young man's life. This platform is about establishing synergy between older men like myself and younger men. Our younger black men, those seeds have to be planted in order to lend themselves to a positive outcome for black empowerment. Black men in the workplace. And as you can see in the title, this is going to be part one of a part two. And I divided them up in those categories, those sections, if you will. Part one is going to center around the educational aspect of simply in these work environments where just a high school diploma, sometimes a GED, and I've seen some situations where that wasn't even needed to work in these particular environments, manufacturing for the most part. Part two will deal with where a certification or degree, some type of technical training will be required to work in those environments. Yours truly, I have worked in both. So tonight, this evening, part one, we're going to simply deal with black men in the workplace in this particular environment where a high school GED is all you need at the very minimum to work in these environments. Some other things I'm going to point out with respect to both of these type of environments is how black men, particularly you young black men, need to move and understand some dynamics that are going on within these cultures. One of the things about this environment where just a simple high school education is needed, as you might expect, is going to be a labor-intensive environment. The pay is not going to be very high. In a lot of these environments, the culture is a first, second, and third shift round-the-clock type of scenario. And here in Charlotte recently, as a contractor, I've worked in some of these environments where These are some big names. I'm not going to mention the names of these companies, but make no mistake, they are household names here in America and more than likely internationally recognized. They got to be on the Forbes top 500 list of companies. These organizations are leaders in their particular field. Another aspect of working in scenarios like these, again, they're going to be labor intensive, which is to simply say you're going to be working with your hands a lot. In a manufacturing situation or scenario, there's always a sense of understanding time. And as you're standing or working on these lines or incorporating yourself into these type of situations in these environments, time, the ability to get the product out and move it quickly, because all of this is related to the cost of doing business. First shift will normally run from 7 to 3, second shift from 3:30 to 11:30, and then third shift again coming in at 11:30 at night, going back, starting the day all over again at 7 o'clock. So that's the type of layout I want to lay down foundationally with this. But moreover, when I was thinking about putting this video together, these, particularly with you young black men, nothing wrong with working for someone else. And if you're 18, 19, 20, a lot of times it's these situations where you will generally start out in life as you're moving up, looking to advance your career. Another thing about these environments, you will find when you go in here, it runs the gamut of different type of people. You'll see someone my age who would be defined as overqualified in a lot of situations. You'll see people working in these jobs. This is their second job, or this is a part-time situation where they're trying to supplement some income. You will see retired persons, people well over the age of 67, working in these type of environments where they are supplementing their Social Security income, things like that. You will also find in these environments that people who have had a brush with the law, they've served their time doing what they need to do, spent some time in jail, they will be up in these environments. These situations also can incorporate people who are having issues with social ill type of dynamics where they are like in a halfway house type of thing going on in their life and they're trying to get their lives better. I've seen men and women like that working in these situations. And to me, not just me, but other people have kind of mentioned this too, but there's somewhat of a slave plantation type of vibe going on when you're working in these type of cultures. So how do black men, particularly you young black men, where these type of this type of entry into the workplace may be the first thing you see as you're moving and grooving, getting out here in the world and doing your thing? Let me paint another picture of what you will see in your surroundings when you get into these type of workplace scenarios. One of the things you're going to notice that I've noticed working with three major companies who push this type of culture with respect to their manufacturing and their product. Overwhelmingly, you're going to notice us, black people. You're going to notice immigrants, immigrants being of Latino Hispanic origin. You'll see African American immigrants, people from the Republic of Congo, the various 54 countries on the continent of Africa. These Africans, by their own free will choice, made a decision to leave Africa and come to America. A lot of times they're working in these type of scenarios where no college degree or any special skill set is needed, because the work required is primarily centered around physical labor and your ability to use your hands and incorporate yourself into the product line and move it along. Another aspect, before I forget about environments like this, will be what's known as PPE, personal protection equipment, which will be, depending on the situation, almost always gloves, eyewear, goggles, maybe a hard hat. You're working in an industrial environment as well. Steel-toed shoes may be required. Safety type of things. If you're a material handler, you may very well be moving a pallet jack, operating a forklift, needing to get certified and trained on that. So you'll probably have a yellow vest on in a lot of these type of environments. If it's a food service oriented type of situation, you'll more than likely have a hairnet on, something like that. Noise levels, you'll have earplugs. These are the type of, this is the type of physical landscape in these industrial environments that go on in places like this. A lot of times you'll see when applying for these type of situations, a lot of times through contracted groups, they'll always ask you about the ability to lift at least 50 pounds, things of that nature. Now, getting back to the type of personnel you're going to notice in these scenarios. More than likely, there'll be a lot of black people, a lot of immigrants, and that immigrant demographic, Latino, Hispanic, African, Asian American. Some environments I've worked in, there was a significant dose, for saying, for lack of a better way to put it, of Middle Eastern personnel, people from India and Pakistan and Iraq and Iran, working in these scenarios. And getting back to running the gamut, like I said, personnel can range from 18 to 19 years of age to people well over retirement age. These companies, this type of work environment basically just need someone healthy physically to do what they need to do. A lot of the work is not hard to do, which is why a GED or a high school diploma will do. You will find yourself basically someone can train you within a matter of minutes to perform a lot of the work that needs to be done. Another thing you're going to notice in these environments, black men, more times than not, working on the floor, if you will, in these situations, you'll notice no black men in any type of leadership role. If you do, they're few and far between. What you will see more than likely, the person that's training you, a person who may be defined as the floor manager or the team lead of this particular production line, almost always exclusively will be a female, and chances are she will be a black female. One demographic that I haven't mentioned, because you will practically never see this particular demographic in these situations. Becky, a young white girl, 18, 19, 20, 25, 30 years, they are never found in these type of situations. If you do see Becky, America's daughter, referring to white girl born and raised in the good old US of A, if you do find a Becky, 9 times out of 10, she will be in the office areas working as an intern or something like that. Very, very, very extremely rare, to the point it's almost not even worth mentioning it, but just to, for the benefit of the doubt, you might see 1 or 2 out of a shift where there are 250, 300, 400 people. Becky's aren't found. I'll get around to that a little bit later in explaining why I believe that is. An overwhelming percentage of females working in these environments. But Becky won't be one of the females. You'll see the black female, the Latino Hispanic female, the Middle Eastern female, the Asian American female. Will not see white girl, white American girl. They do not work in these type of scenarios. Certainly out on the floor in a labor intensive environment. That's not them. No black men in practically any aspect of management, team lead, supervisory, very rare. One of the things in these type of work spaces, there's machinery going on, so you have a maintenance crew. And that's the skill set that's required. They're working on the machine, they're doing things to keep the line up and running, and things of that nature. Most of the time, you will notice those men, moreover, it'll be men, number one. Number two, they will be white men working in maintenance. There will be, you'll notice out on the floor in a lot of these things where it'll be quite obvious who upper management is, and that's almost exclusively white men in these type of scenarios. One of the things that disgusts me and irritates me when I'm out on the floor looking at these scenarios, I'm noticing my well, I ain't how to be young black men. I'm noticing men in their 40s. These companies and these situations and these environments actually allow, I wouldn't allow it if it was my company and you worked for me, but there are young black men all over the place in these situations where they're actually allowed to come in looking just any kind of way. And almost always, you're going to have some aspect of that personal protection equipment I talked about earlier on you somehow. But I'm still noticing practically every black man in the place, sweatpants on for comfort, but pants hanging off his ass, haircut any kind of way. Seen some scenarios recently where hair wasn't even combed, looked like they just woke up and coming in looking any kind of way, pants hanging off your ass. I think I mentioned earlier where the type of aura that's given off reminds me of, it's just a mindset or energy that reminds me of a slave plantation. In these work environments, you'll notice the black women who are pretty much in charge, running the show, and other females, they're talking to you just any kind of way. Disrespectfully, and Lord knows black folk do not like to be disrespected. You're not going to disrespect me. That's a big thing with us. As I'm standing back as a older man looking through the lens of which I'm looking through, making observations. The black men in there, the young black men in particular, material handlers, black men working on the line, even in a work environment like this, pants hanging down, showing your boxers, showing your underwear, showing the crack of your butt, not even a problem. Because this environment really doesn't care about anything other than we got a body out here in the field on the plantation. Long as that Negro can do what we need him to do, that's all we care about to get this product out. That's essentially what you're going to see in the landscape of this type of culture. Black women, women in general, in charge. Practically no black men, even though they're all over the place, don't occupy any supervisory or management position at all in these things. That's only going to be reflected in the white men who come out on the floor from time to time. And one of the things I've noticed in some of these places I've worked in, it's kind of interesting that African immigrant. Now, there's always been a contention. There's always been contention between Black Americans and African Americans. And with the backdrop of what the United States of America has always promoted, don't ever forget, the Black American is at the bottom of the totem pole. And within the microcosm of that microcosm, Black men are at the very bottom of the bottom of the bottom, as viewed through the lens of white America. Black American men, public enemy number one, no doubt about it. However, you'll see African immigrants who come over, and a lot of their ladies will be in these situations, and their team leads, team supervisors, that type of thing. Not making too much more money than the person, than the laborer type of individual working out on the floor. But I must say, when I'm looking at some of these situations, that African immigrant comes with just no nonsense about stuff. When I'm out here in these situations and looking around, it's almost like it's an extension of high school shenanigans for some of our black folk out here. Not for some, but I'm going to say for most of them. Our young black women working in these situations, and overwhelmingly you'll see there are more women working on the line, women's dexterity with their hands, doing things that are just quicker and easier to do because their hands are smaller, depending on the type of product and industry you're dealing with. Most of the times you'll notice the ladies are handling this aspect of production or processing of material, where a lot of the men are that material handler, picking up the heavier boxes, providing product to the line. But I've seen our young black women get into arguments over nothing, seen fights break out. This is at a job. This is at a place where, if there's any group out here, the Black American group, particularly you young black men, need to be paying attention on how business is done. You need to be out here in these situations where it's a job, so you have to take things seriously. The way you look, the way you carry yourself. Are you coming to work on time? A lot of situations that you'll see and notice in these type of job environments, people come to work late, they leave early, they go to the restroom seemingly 100 times on an 8 to 10 hour shift. And something else, gentlemen, you need to realize, you will never be able to do what a woman does in the workplace. These cultures require No smartphones, cell phones out on the floor. You wait till you go on break, and I'll talk about the break times in a minute. Women all over the place. While machinery, the line is running, they're popping open their phones to text. Saw this one sister one evening reach down, hit the emergency stop to stop the conveyor belt because she had a call coming in and she needed to handle this right here on the line. Black woman. Just stop it right now. I got stuff to do. Some of the things that go on out here in these situations to me are just unbelievable. Every black man working in these scenarios looks like he's barely dressed appropriately and properly for the job. But if you think you can stop a line and because you need to talk or text someone, they'll walk your black ass out the door, probably without even giving you a warning. Are you talking about double? Yeah, there are double standards everywhere in life. And they will slap you in the face big time in these type of work scenarios I'm talking about. The women go to the restroom, they stay in the restroom, God knows how long, come back to the line, nothing is practically said. Men take off and go to the restroom or stay in the break room a little too long. That's another thing about these environments that continue to convey a lot of this slave plantation environment. Where's Jeremiah? Now, Jeremiah need to get on back out here now. Told him he could go relieve himself. Now, doggone it, where is he? Jeremiah come back a little too late. You're out the door. The females in these type of situations almost always never, they got to do something real drastic. Even when a fight broke, even when I've seen breakouts, fighting between women on the line and stuff. The operations manager or the floor manager, sometimes who's a woman as well, she'll come out and handle a situation, and both of them will still have a job. Two black men engaged in something like that, you're fired. You're gone. Negro, you're out the you're gone, brother. So understand this, young black men. You will never be able to do what women do in the workplace. Generally speaking, you'll never be able to do it. Why are you young black men coming in to environments like this, where a lot of times this is your first introduction to the world of business? A lot of times it may be your first job, and you approach it like you're back in high school. Sometimes I'll ask young men, so what are you endeavoring to do after this? Or as I try to get a chance to kind of see what's going on with their mindset. And it's almost like a little boy. I'm asking questions, and this is what I get from a 19, 20-year-old. No sense of plan, no sense of vision, no sense of where he wants to go. God forbid if he uses this opportunity that's been given to him to see how business, to get a sense of business acumen, how things are done, paying attention to your environment where you actually see, nothing but black women running the show, primarily. Black and white, the black American demographic and the white demographic in some of these scenarios out here in these manufacturing environments and cultures are in the minority. An overwhelming percentage, overwhelming majority of the people that you're seeing, I believe, decade after decade in these situations are immigrants, primarily Latino, Hispanic, and Asian American. They're quote unquote taking over in these scenarios. But black men, you black men working in this type of culture, take it serious. Define yourself. Opportunities that may come to you 9 times out of 10 are where you're going to have to pursue the opportunity. I've been working for years, and a lot of times, even in situations and scenarios where practically everybody in this job environment has to have some type of special skill or degree or so forth, there are black men who have been working in these jobs at this company for years, got more than enough experience and know-how to be a manager, to be some type of manufacturing lead or whatever title, good raise, and so forth. And that company generally will give those opportunities to said young white boy. A lot of nepotism that still goes on. There's a degree of the good old boy network that still works sometimes in these type of places. But so many times, if you, as a black man, have the gumption or aspirations to want to be better and do better, you're going to have to figure out who to talk to and make some moves and things to put yourself in a position to seize opportunity. Even at my age, black men my age and older can tell you. You can have a degree, you can have this, and you can have that. By and large, we as black men have to make our opportunities, so to speak. And you black men in these type of cultures are out there looking any kind of way, pants hanging off your ass. And another very important thing, because there are a lot of women around, and some of the women out here in these situations are wearing things just like the men coming in looking any kind of way, pants hanging off their ass and all of that. You would think that would be a violation of dress code and so forth, but nobody seems to say anything about it. One of the things you'll see, a certain percentage of females in these environments, black, the African ladies, Latino, Hispanic, some of the Asian, they come into these workplace cultures dressing In some cases, to say provocative as hell would be an understatement. Inappropriately dressed. I've worked for one company as a contractor where there was a heavy dose of black men, believe it or not, in some supervisory maintenance type of things. And it's a damn shame that most of them that I observed were looking to try to get a hold of some of these women and bed them down. There's so many things that go on, gentlemen, out here in these workplaces, workspaces that have nothing to do with the job description, the product line they're promoting, and all of the shenanigans. It's not even funny. So you young black men need to particularly understand and conduct yourself professionally around the female. I've even noticed Jezebel spirits, if you will, in these type of places where the women just run and dictate everything to the point of where men are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, trying to get them. Then the female who doesn't take lightly to inappropriate sexual advances. Now your black ass finds yourself in the human resource office with some type of violation pertaining to sexual harassment or causing the lady to feel uncomfortable. You're out the door. So black men in the workplace, in these environments where only a high school diploma is needed because they can train a child to do a lot of these things. Take it serious. Understand your environment. Make a note of what's going on. Understand the seriousness of business. Have some sense of discernment about business acumen. And stop coming into these places like you're back in high school, acting silly, being frivolous, and conducting yourself inappropriately around females in these situations. Next week, we'll deal with part 2 of Black Men in the Workplace. Love you more than you know.